the way that I like to approach this is, for example, if I was going to play a normal E minor, right? There's something very grand about a normal E minor. That is as, you know, as powerful as you can get, right? But what I really love, and I've realized this, is that I really enjoy chords that have tension built into the middle of them. So if you're playing an E minor, I start looking at all of the notes that are the same note. So I have an E here, I have an E here, I have an E here. And so to me, the color of a chord is when you take whenever there are repeating notes and change them. I shop for local notes. So I could, you know, if I have an E here and I have an E here, I could go down one. That gets really mysterious. I could go up. Doesn't quite nail it, but if I go up just one further, I have this really interesting tension. But when you put that in the chord, so now the E minor has this extra color. So I really love the tension in chords. Another example is, unless you're playing death metal, it's not a nice sounding thing, but in the context of the rest of the chord, right? It's that tension that makes that chord colorful and beautiful, you know? So I think for me, when it comes to chords, I really am, you know, the left brain kicks in when I'm stuck, but I really, really try to, I try to move emotionally and say, what does this make me feel? And I remember my teacher was always, you know, he would always reinforce Don Reese, and he would say things like, you know, like make sure that you follow your ear, but make sure you expand what your ear is capable of hearing, you know? So that's where Alan Holdsworth and Coltrane and Ted Green, you know, his chords, amazing. So things like that, and I just loved listening to like the piano chords of George Winston, and he has a chord that I figured out this. The very first track on Montana
so what are you
Love
doing?
Story. So this is a version of an E minor. So first finger's on the second fret of the A, and then the third finger on the
F sharp there.
Yeah, the F sharp there. And then I put, this is a little tricky because you have to make sure you clear the open G there, but then the second finger on the third fret of the B, and then I reach all the way up with my pinky here. And I first heard that
To catch that 11th, that 4th up there,
Exactly. Yep. Something about that was just so interesting. So that sort of has become, I sort of search for different versions of E minor that have, right? Those E minors have something, even if you take them up just a little bit higher. So I just love the feeling of sitting down and playing chords, you know? I can play a G this way, or I can play a C this way, or I could play it, right? And what's happening in those is me just literally sitting down and enjoying that, the hunt for those things that make me go like, oh.
So you've got a B, a C, a G, and then
The high E.
High E?
Yep. But I'm almost never would you put a 7, you know, that gets really wacky and that gets muddy when you have a 7 as the lowest note. But right there, the C is here, and so that does make that a version of a C, you know.
But what a beautiful variation to it. Yeah.
I love that. So I think, you know, long story short, I really love, again, standard tuning, and it's really, really cool when it's like, oh, what tuning is that, you know?
Yeah.
I've heard, especially Tommy Manu has talked about that too. He has some chords that, you know, people ask him the same thing, and I think that's a high compliment when, you know, someone can, because a lot of times we might think standard tuning is stuck with sort of first position cowboy chords, which are extremely effective, and I play them every day. But when you do venture out, there are a lot of really unique, or if I do something like, it's like a B flat, add 9, sharp 11, but does it matter what it's called, or how it functions and how it feels?